Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you guys are having a great Father's Day. So this is the second video that I'm doing, and this one I actually recorded twice because the first time I noticed I had an error in it. So we're going to do this again. All right, so in this video, we're going to go over where the Bitcoin miners could be at the basically next year in May as far as production is concerned with getting all their hash rate installed. We'll take a look at, based on their Q1 results for costs, we'll try and divide those out into how much they're paying per petahash on those costs. And then also like their overhead costs for employees and things like that, that's going to be taken into account as well, but taken out of the actual production costs. Then we'll add it all back up together for the 2024 production update, well, May 2024 possible numbers for them, okay? So this is, just as always, you guys know, not financial advice. For entertainment only, do your own research and invest in finding coins and companies for full disclosure. And if you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, and it helps me out tremendously. So let's take a look at the data here that we do have on this, and I'll try to explain everything where I pulled it from so everything is clear to you guys. And here it is. So here's kind of what we're looking at. A couple of things to note. There are some assumptions with this. Obviously, the assumptions are as follows. So Bitcoin price, I'm guessing, is going to be probably around 50,000 by this time next year. So sometime in May, I'm guessing 50,000. I'm thinking Bitcoin's going to be probably between 35 and 45,000 by the end of this year, which would kind of coincide with maybe about 50,000 by May of next year, maybe even higher, but I'm going with 50. I'm going a little bit conservative here. Average hash rate also increased to 475 million on that at that time frame. We're seeing a little bit of a slowdown right now in hash rate increases, and we'll see if that actually comes close to it, but this is just like a best educated guess as far as where the hash rate could be, okay? So those are the things that we're taking into account. The other thing is block reward, obviously is going to be 3.125 Bitcoins at that time. And the prepay, basically the reward that's given out a day is going to be 450. It's going to be half after the halving event on sometime in April, possibly. Okay, so that's kind of what we're going by. These are the assumptions here. The other assumptions that we do have here is obviously Bitcoin going to 50,000. The miners, on the other hand, the assumptions that we have is the costs are going to stay the same for the most part. The only costs that they can really control are obviously the electricity costs and overhead costs. So payroll, compensation, all those things can be controlled. We're going by what we have so far in Q1, okay? So here's kind of what we're looking at. We'll get back to these numbers here. Oh, also, this is kind of the way I added the numbers here for May. So if we look at Bitfarms as an example here, I added all the miners to have everything installed by that time next year. So whatever they have reported as far as being bought, that's all getting installed, and this is kind of the numbers that we're going with. Also, the days in operation here. I'm going by their averages here so far this year. So if they mine for the most part 30 days, 31 days, you know, almost 100% uptime, that's getting reported on there as well. A couple companies like Hut 8, I'm actually giving them a benefit of the doubt here that they're going to get things turned around by the time next year. And they're going to be actually mining for 31 days. But everybody else here that's let's take a look at maybe Riot. Riot, for the most part, curtails every single month here, and on average, I'm averaging it out to about 26 for them in June. Well, June is going to be actually the main numbers for 2024, okay? So we're using all the numbers here for everything that's being installed, averages for as far as how they've been mining so far, and I think that explains that part of it. Okay, let's get back into here. So we're looking at what could they be actually generating in revenue with Bitcoin being at 50,000 in May of 2024 right now. So here are the numbers for that. We got CleanSpark at 25.5 million, Hut 8 at 4.8. That's with everything being installed, right? Sphere at 2.6, also Hut 8, something to note. They are planning on merging with USBTC. That should get them to about 7.1, 7.2 exahash by the time everything is said and done. The big unknown is obviously going to be how much are they spending on, what are their costs going to be, what's their overhead going to be, compensation, payroll, all that. We just don't know. So I'm going by the fact that this doesn't go through for them, okay? Sphere 3D is at 2.6 million here, but digital at almost 2, Mawson at 1.9, almost 1.9, DMG 1.5, DigiHost 1.6, Argo 3.1 million, almost 3.2, Bitfarms 10.9, almost 11 million, TeraWolf at 6.6, Hive would be at 5.9, Marathon 31 million here, Riot would be at 15 million, Cypher would be at 7 million, Iris would be at 8 million, and Core Scientific would be at 20 million. Comparing it to the main numbers that we have so far reported for all of these miners here, here's a difference that you would see year over year, basically. Which miners would be actually generating more revenue as opposed to those that would be generating less, okay? So CleanSpark would be up 8.8 million on that from what they are in May of 2023 compared to May of 2024. Hut 8 would be up 785,000, Sphere would be up 507,000, BitDigital would be up 76,000, Moss would be up 27,000, DMG would actually be down 363,000, DigiHost would be down 509,000, Argo would be down 1.5 million, Bitfarms would be down 1.6 million, TeraWolf would be down 2.2 million, Hive would be down 2.4, Marathon would be down 3.1, Riot would be down 3.1, Cypher would be down 3.7, Iris would be down 5.8, Core would be down 16 million, comparable from this year to next year after the halving event. And the reason for that is, I don't know why the numbers came out that way, but they did come out that way. It's kind of strange. I think Marathon is because they're so, I mean, their current hash rate is already at 12.5. They are going to be still installing about, let's say they're going to be installing about another, what is it, about 9 exahash, right? So they already have a lot installed. When they do install the rest of this stuff, it is going to also take them down a little bit here, looks like, based on their numbers that I can see. They're going to be at 34. Yeah, so even, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, they're 34 right now. They were mining for the full month of 31, and we also had the mining rewards, the transaction fees added into that. So that's kind of skewing the numbers off a little bit here. But if it wasn't for those transaction fees, I think some of these miners would actually be in the positive here for May going to next year, okay? I hope that makes sense. Okay, so that's those columns there. There's a difference here percentage-wise. Hash rate increase for all these. Marathon's going to be increasing about 9.1. CleanSpark about 10 exahash. And then some of these guys here are under 1 exahash. Then we got Bitfarm still up about 2.4 exahash. TeraWolf going to be up another 1.3. Riot's going to be up another 2, and Cypher's going to be up another 1.2 roughly based on what's reported as being bought already. Some of these guys are saying that they're going to get to X in number, but there's nothing reported as far as being bought to get to that number yet. I'm going by the numbers that are reported, okay? Okay, next is going to be this column here, Q1 cost, 2023 cost. So these are the numbers that are reported from their financial results. I pulled in basically the cost to mine Bitcoin, whatever that was, for each one. I also included in there their salaries and compensation, which could be share-based compensation as well in there to get a kind of like an overall cost as far as what it might cost to run that business, okay? Then we also have just the Q1 cost of revenue. So this just includes what they reported as far as for electricity costs, any operations to those facilities, not including management compensation, all that other stuff, okay? So those are the costs there. Based on, you guys can take a look at the numbers here that we have for it, and then I took the monthly average payroll, compensation basically, and other things in here, what that was. So I just took the two numbers here, took the total cost divided by the cost of revenue, and divided that by 3 to get a monthly average payroll roughly. So that's those numbers here. You guys can take a look at those. You can pause it and take a look. Q1 average hash rate. So I took the Q1 average hash rate that they had for January, February, and March. This was the hash rate that we got for it. You can see what those came in like for all of these. Q1 2023 BTC monthly average, how much they mined monthly based on how much they mined for the quarter. So divided that by 3. You get those numbers here. You guys can take a look at that as well. Then we got the Q1 average cost per petahash. So here I took basically what the cost was, 22 million for example, CleanSpark, divided it by the 6,634 petahash to get a cost of $1,110 cost per petahash to mine. And then you can see the rest as well down here. You guys can pause it, take a look. And then average Bitcoin cost, average cost per Bitcoin is just taking the average Bitcoin mined for the monthly, basically for Q1, dividing it by the total cost that was associated with that. And we got the cost for it here. And you can see CleanSpark came in at 19.3 thousand. Hut 8 was 61,000 because, well, they had issues with some of their facilities, and they basically I think it's their payroll that really kind of hurt them there a little bit, along with some other things that didn't really help them out. Okay, but everybody else here is pretty good. Some are a little bit higher here. You got Sphere 3D at 49,000, BitDigital at 28,000, Mawson at 63, DMG at 17, which was really low. DigiHost at 18, Argo at 22, Bitfarms at 19, TeraWolf at 22, Hive at 21, Marathon at 22, Riot at 16, Cypher at 27, Iris at 22, and Core was at 23. Okay, So on the next column over, it's BTC mined in May of 2024. So basically what we're doing there is taking all the miners that have been running for X amount of days, getting that revenue here in this column, and then dividing it by the price of Bitcoin, which is 50,000. We're estimating that they're going to mine about 511 Bitcoins here. HUD is going to be 97 Bitcoins. Sphere is going to be 53. Digital around 64. Mawson at 38. DMG at 32. Also DigiHost at 32. Argo at 64. Bitfarms at 219. Terrorwolf at 132. Hive at 119. Marathon at 623. Riot at 310. Cypher at 155. Iris at 162. And Core Scientific at 403. Okay. Yeah, that looks right. Okay. So those are the numbers that are estimated right now as far as what they could possibly mine with Bitcoin being 50,000. Average cost, May of 2024. In this one, we're taking the average cost per petahash, multiplying it by the end hash rate that they're going to be at. So for CleanSpark, it's going to be 17 exahash. And then down the list, here we just go down the list. And those are the costs that you're getting basically to mine for that period of time. So next column is going to be average cost divided by BTC mined. So we're taking the cost here and dividing it by the 511 Bitcoins that were mined. Potentially, we're getting a cost of 37,000, which kind of makes sense that that would be almost double for CleanSpark, as we know that having events usually doubles the production numbers, okay? So those are all the numbers down there. Finally, when we look at the revenue minus cost equals profit or loss, depending on which way you go, at 50,000 right now, it looks like CleanSpark would be slightly profitable, at 1.5 million profitable. Hut 8 would be at a negative of 6 million. Sphere would be a negative 1.2. Then you got BitDigital would be negative 1.4. Mawson would be a negative 1.8. DMG would be at 300,000. DigiHost would be slightly profitable at 144,000. Argo would be negative 405,000. Bitfarms would be negative 896,000. Terrorwolf would actually be profitable at 702,000. Hive would be negative 1.3. Marathon would be negative 2.6 million. Riot would be profitable at 2 million right there. Cypher would be at 2.1 million negative. Iris would be negative 2.3. And Core Scientific would be negative 11.4 million, okay? So that's kind of the way the numbers are shaping up right now. That's a 50,000. Now we can look at the numbers here in a different way. So if we look at the chart up here, it's basically saying the same thing that's in the revenue minus cost, and the cost is including in this the cost, the monthly average payroll cost. We're adding that into it, right? That's separate. That's if that stays the same, that's kind of how we're getting that. So we're taking the May 2024 revenue numbers, subtracting the average cost for May of 2024, and then also subtracting that monthly payroll as well to it to come up with if they're going to be able to be profitable more or less. Okay. So at 50,000, this is the way it shapes up. If we go down to 45,000, well, then you got pretty much everybody here except for Riot being profitable and Terrorwolf being also slightly profitable. So Bitcoin's at that point at time in 45,000 at the halving event, there's going to be a lot of miners that are going to be in deep doo-doo unless they really cut down on their expenses. And I highly recommend that they do that before the next halving event. Get rid of any overhead, get any bloated employees that you have, get as lean as you can getting into the halving event. Okay, so that's a 40,000, 45,000, 40,000. There's nobody profitable at that point. Okay, there's nobody that's going to be profitable at that point. So what is it going to take for some of these other miners to get to profitability after the halving event? Well, 45,000 we know gets us there. 50,000 gets us a couple as well. Then we get into 55,000. You can see here that now we have also DigiHost. Bitfarms is now profitable as well, along with Marathon. Riot is still at 3.6. CleanSpark has overtaken them by 4.1 million now, and that's based on the hash rate that they have, right? CleanSpark has about 16, 17 exahash, and Riot has only 12, something maybe 13. They're definitely going to be generating more. And then we get into 60,000. Now we have DigiHost, DMG, Argo also being profitable, Bitfarms, Terrorwolf, Marathon, Riot, and that's it so far. At 65,000, we're looking to see, let's see who else pops in here. Cypher, Iris start popping in there as well as being profitable at this current time frame, 70,000. Now we got, what do we got here? DMG, we still have the same ones, Bitfarms, Terrorwolf, Hive is profitable, Cypher, Iris as well. So now the only ones that are now profitable are Hut 8. Sphere 3D, Bit Digital, Mawson, and Core Scientific. We get up to 75,000. Well, now the only ones that are not profitable is still Hut 8, Mawson, and Core Scientific. Everybody else here is profitable. And Marathon is starting to gain on CleanSpark with profitability. And then you got 80,000. You still have Mawson being in the negative. Everybody else is a profit. Core Scientific even becomes profitable at that point at 85,000. Everybody profitable except for Mawson still and Hut 8. Hut 8 definitely needs to cut down on their costs. And with the USBTC merger, I think that's going to help them out tremendously. And that'll possibly make them also profitable much earlier than it is showing right now. Going into 90, you can see that Marathon is now overtaking CleanSpark as far as profitability is concerned. They're at 22.25 million compared to 22. The only thing that's really hurting Marathon is their operation cost and overhead. So payroll, compensation, all that stuff. There. And then we got 95,000 for Bitcoin. Marathon overtook CleanSpark. HUD is pretty close to getting profitable. Mawson is still not profitable, but getting close. 100,000 for Bitcoin. You can see how these numbers stack up. 105,000. Well, now we have Mawson now profitable, just barely. And then we got Hut 8 almost profitable as well. And Hut 8 would need to be at 115,000 per Bitcoin to be profitable based on the numbers that they provided in Q1 for their costs. Okay, so if Bitcoin goes up to possibly, like we're thinking, to maybe around 150,000, I'm guessing it's going to go between 150,000 to 200,000. If it goes way above that, I'll be more than happy about it. But I'm being conservative on my estimates. I'm thinking between 150 to 200,000 based on what I've seen historically happen. And what the trend has been historically, that the increases have been coming down as far as percentages and gains in Bitcoin, but the value has been definitely growing much more. Okay, so at 150,000, we got Marathon with 59 million, top one there, followed by CleanSpark at 52. And then we got Core at 28 million, followed by, Riot and then Core. So Core Scientific at that point would start to look pretty good there. If we get up to, I got to update that to, let's do that to 160. See how that shit, I can't go any higher than that. Let me change the format on it. We'll make it 200,000. Okay, get rid of that. So 160,000 per Bitcoin. Now you're seeing Core getting pretty close to Riot. Marathon definitely outpacing everybody else here by a pretty sizable margin. 165. 170, 175, 180, 185. It's kind of where I'm thinking it might actually end up at, right around there. So at that point, we're looking at Marathon with 81 million potentially. Obviously, depending where the network hash rate goes, it's going to decrease as well. But then you got CleanSpark at 70 million, and you got Riot and Core pretty close to each other with about 43, 42 million a piece of those. Bitfarms is coming in basically this spot here at 28.6. So the moral of the story is the miners really have to cut down on expenses as much as they can to be profitable after the halving event. Grow their hash rate as much as they can right now when the miners are relatively inexpensive. I'm sure it's going to be possibly dilution, or they're going to be having to pull in Bitcoins that they do have right now. But this is the time to really grow right before the halving event, and that way you're ready for it for that bull run to get into, right? When you get into that bull run, that's not when you want to be buying miners. You want to be buying them in the bear market, so like we are right now, last year as well. That is the perfect time to do it. Okay, so we'll see where these numbers go. If we're close to that or not. We still have basically 12 months to go before that happens. So let me know what you guys think of all of this. Do you guys agree? Do you guys disagree? Just let me know. Love to hear you guys in the comments down below. But that's it. I thought this was kind of interesting to take a look at it. A lot of you guys have requested it, so hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out tremendously. And as always, the spreadsheets are going to be available to my Patreon members, and the pictures, so the screenshots will also be available to the YouTube members there. So thank you everyone there. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.